From the KDLM studios, it's time for Hodge Podge, presented by Partnership for Health and airing on Lakes TV3.
Good morning. Welcome into Hodge Podge. We've reached Friday, this first week of 2021 on this 8th day of January. I'm Joel Ketke. As always, thanks for joining us here on Hodge Podge. Today, we fire up our Zoom studios where Kelly Blackledge is standing by from the Tamarac National Wildlife Refuge. Kelly, Happy New Year and good morning. Thanks for being with us today on Hodge Podge.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy New Year. Happy everything, right?
You're just happy today, Kelly.
Inspiration.
Now, for those that'll watch this a little bit later, you got a really nice backdrop, little kind of a wintry scene there with some frost on the trees. Kind of looks like you shot that this morning, actually.
Doesn't it? I know. I love it. It was so foggy last night that I just knew today would be another day filled with frost. I love that. That hoarfrost is beautiful. And even, later in the day, as the sun comes out and the hoarfrost starts falling off the trees, it's beautiful, just beautiful. And Boyd, we need like some of that peaceful beauty right now. I feel like, if feeling stressed, heading out to Tamarac and just absorbing some of that natural beauty is the way to go. It really helps.
Kelly, I think we can all take a little bit of solace in knowing that many people this year in particular have been flocking to the outdoors for activities. I mean, all you got to do is drive around any of our area lakes not even on the weekend, on any given day, and you can see the amount of traffic out there. And then when the weekends do come, the amount of kids that are out skating on frozen lakes and on local skating rinks. And we're going to talk about cross-country skiing and snowshoeing, and the snowmobile trails now have enough snow. People are spending time outside, and it's been a very mild winter for the most part. Let's touch on some cross-country skiing at Tamarac. Kelly, what's going on with the trail conditions for those cross-country skiers out there?
Yeah, it must be kind of hard to find snowshoes and cross-country skis right now because everybody, I think, got them for Christmas, or it just seems that way because the parking lots are full. So there's a lot of activity out there. And then, like you said, with these temperatures, it's just been phenomenal in terms of like perfect timing to try out those skis and snowshoes. And we do have 8 miles of groomed trail on the refuge. So there's a loop all the way around Pine Lake for skiing. And then that's 6 miles. And then there's another loop that is kind of closer to Tamarac Lake. And that one is 2 miles. So just beautiful scenery as you're out there. And I love that, when you're walking in the snow, it can be really crunchy and loud. And but when you're skiing, it's so quiet. You can really just, glide through on those groomed tracks. And the Detroit Lakes Nordic Ski Club has been phenomenal. They are grooming most of the trails in Becker County. So you can go to Frazee and Pickerel Lake and Mountain View, and of course at Tamarac. So we're so appreciative of those volunteers that take the time to come out and make sure that those trails are staying in good shape. Of course, they kind of need a little more snow right now to regroom another time. The warm weather and the high traffic creates kind of a slick trail there. So it's kind of what you call a fast trail maybe out there. But frost helps. It kind of adds a little bit to the trail. And if you've never been before, something to keep in mind is, a few etiquette things when you're skiing. For one thing, if you're coming out to recreate on the refuge and there is a groomed trail, really it's designed for skis. So if you're not going out there with skis, then it might be a good idea to find another trail because those set tracks are pretty important to keeping your skis going and the the smooth ride that you might have through the woods. So we don't recommend walking or snowshoeing where there's a groomed trail. We've got lots of other trails for that, but we only have a few that are set groomed tracks. And, the volunteers spend a lot of time making sure they're really nice. So to have somebody tromp with snowshoes over that is not so, it's frustrating sometimes.
So you talked about being out in the woods in the wintertime, and the snow is a sound insulator. And when you get a nice snowfall, I mean, we all love to be out in the woods. I love to be outdoors. I think most of us do. And when you walk in the woods in the fall or in the spring, you hear a lot of little chirps and burps and crunches. But when you go out in the wintertime when there's snow, and you stand still in the middle of the Tamarac National Wildlife Refuge, guess what you hear? Next to nothing. It is literally utter peace and quiet. So as Kelly's mentioned, if you're not a cross-country skier or you're not a snowshoer and you're just looking to get out, decompress, unwind, and enjoy what Mother Nature has to offer, there is nothing better than a little walk in the wintertime through some woods.
You're right. You're right. It's just awesome. And if you are skiing, just a couple other things etiquette wise. So there are a lot of places where there's only one way track. So that means there might be somebody coming at you. Who has the right of way? Well, if you're heading downhill, those that are going downhill have the right of way. So if you're trying to trek a little uphill and somebody's coming towards you, just pull your skis off the track and let them go by. Which is kind of funny because if you're snowshoeing, it's the opposite. If you're snowshoeing and somebody's kind of coming up a narrow part of the trail, those that are going uphill, trudging uphill, have the right of way. So the skiers going downhill have the right of way. And anyway, it's just nice to, especially if you are an avid skier, then you have a little bit more agility to step off the trail than maybe a beginner skier. So if you happen to kind of notice somebody struggling along the way and you're a little bit more agile skier, then take your skis off the track and let them through so that they can keep practicing. So there's a little etiquette to keep folks having a great time out there. One thing that the ski club did do is ski 2 sets of tracks in some of the flatter areas, at least on the Pine Lake or the Wildlife Drive road where it's a little bit more wide. There's room to do 2 sets of tracks there. So you can pass people, or, if you're skiing with somebody, you can be using both sets of tracks, which is kind of nice. But most of the trails are just a 1-track set. It's, single file trekking through there.
So what you're telling us is this isn't hockey, no hip checks, no body checks when you need to pass somebody on those cross-country ski trails. Exactly. We're always looking for things to put a smile on people's face. And our next topic here certainly is one that warms people's hearts. We're going to talk a little bit about river otters. And I can be honest, my kids and I have spent a lot of time watching river otters. Is there anything more besides maybe walking through the quiet of the snow, but something about river otters and just their gracefulness and their community-minded approach to how they run their, what is it, a family, a pod? I don't even know what you call it, Kelly. What do you call the group of otters?
Yeah, I suppose it's a family.
Family. They're very
pups. It's usually a family with pups in the family. Yeah, but absolutely, they, that is so true. There are a lot of animals that are trying to sit still and not use up energy right now, but otters, their metabolism is a lot faster. They're eating, constantly. They'll need to get at least 1 fish a day to be able to keep themselves going, and maybe a frog or a crayfish or something that they can dig up that's underneath the mud there too. So they're constantly eating, they're constantly moving to stay warm, really. So they take a little bit different approach to it than some of our other animals that are just trying to stay still and not use up any energy and stay warm. But they have so many adaptations to make that happen. Otters have, of course, a really thick layer of fur, and as most mammals do, they'll have the long guard hairs on the outside and then a coat of under fur, kind of like our dogs do, and then a layer of fat underneath the skin, so they can, stay pretty warm with that, and a lot of oil glands, so their skin is very oily. So you'll see them grooming and keeping those guard hairs nice and oily. So the cold water isn't getting, fully into those guard hairs, and they can stay warm that way. They also, if you notice, they have pretty small eyes and very small ears. And of course, even their ears and nostrils can kind of close. So as they're swimming underneath the water, they're not, getting a lot of water inside. So they have built-in goggles and ear flaps, and so amazing. And then their tail, I don't know if you watch the tail, a third of their body is the tail, nice big long thick tail, and very strong. So of course that's what they're using to get them to, get them through the water. And their head is kind of flat so they can go under sticks and branches and get things. But I love the feet. I don't know if you watch, otter tracks, you'll see them on the ice when you're ice fishing and stuff. They're big. They think, are. Oh, this was a big animal through, but really it was a 20-pound otter that came through, but their tracks are like 3.5 by 4 inches. So, and kind of round and splayed out. They have webbed feet again to really help manipulate under the water. Good swimmers, but those tracks are really something. They're kind of wide, and big feet are helpful when you're swimming in the water.
When you were describing the otters, I thought you were doing a play-by-play of myself. A lot of fur, a little overweight.
A little layer of fat.
A little layer of fat, yeah, here and there. That is so true. We're going to take a break here on Hodge Podge. When we come back, we're going to talk in segment 2. We're going to talk a little bit about how ice fishing is going, also the Friends, the Tamarac, and we'll talk more about those ice conditions coming up in segment 2. Back with more Hodge Podge on a Friday. Stay tuned.